Canucks a roadkill in the Motor City, got run over 5-1 by the Red Wings. We're breaking it down now. This is Rink Wide Vancouver. We welcome you inside the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studios. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. I'm Jeff. He's Irf. This is Rink Wide. It's brought to you in part by Bet365, and it's more of the same. Same old. Canucks are 0-2 now to start this road trip. Lost in Buffalo the other night, and we're pretty much no-shows after the first 5 or 10 minutes of this one. In Motown as well. That's 5 straight losses for the Canucks. That's a season high, 0-3-2. Bear with me as we go through a few of these numbers right off the top. 1 win in 8 games now, 1-5-2. And on the season, the Canucks fall to 16-22-5. That is 37 points in 43 games now for this hockey club that just is so underwhelming. There's really no better word to describe that. History made, no surprise there. It feels like it happens all the time against the Vancouver Canucks. Patrick Kane has made a career of feasting on the Vancouver Canucks in both the regular season and in the playoffs as well. And he gets to 500, so a milestone marker for Patty Kane. And really, our job is to break this thing down, but Irf, there isn't a whole lot to say about this hockey club right now.
Nope, there is definitely not. I see someone in one of our chats says, great game. The tank is in the bank. I kind of like that. But, I mean, the way that things are going for this team right now and the way that the effort, again, you know what? Early in the season when they were losing games, Jeff, and even a little bit before Christmas, right around Christmas time, when they were losing games, you couldn't knock them for the effort they had. There was some jump in their game. They outshot opponents. They still lost games. They were in games. Look at this road trip. These 2 games so far, they ain't even close.
I thought where they remarked after the game in Buffalo that they weren't very good. They knew it, and they didn't like their start, and they fell behind Fort Cobb, and then the late game push to make it look kind of interesting. I thought the start was all right tonight in this hockey game. Jake DeBrusk draws a penalty 19 seconds in. They have a power play. They don't do anything with it, but I thought there was a little more. Now, again, it's all relative here, and the bar is so damn low with this hockey club right now that if it was better than it was in Buffalo, that's not saying a whole lot, but I did think that they looked a little more, what was the word? Engaged was the word that we used. But these are the Vancouver Canucks, and so they don't convert on an early power play. Then they run into penalty problems themselves. And this is another thing. 43 games into this season, Irf, this is not a tough team. We've established that. But they take so many penalties and just shoot themselves in the foot. And here tonight, Marcus Pettersson takes his 20th minor of the season. That's tied with Evander Kane for the team lead. Top 5 in the National Hockey League. Both of those guys, they kill that one off. And then Zeev Buium takes a penalty. 10 seconds later, not even 8 seconds after that, it was David Kampf off the faceoff. Now the Canucks are 2 men short. And, this is a Detroit power play that came into the night 5th best in the National Hockey League. So discipline had to be one of the catchwords and, things that they stressed in their pre-scout. And yet they run into penalty problems late in the first period. And with a 2-man advantage, there's Patrick Kane. Wrist shot off the left side. Looked like Kevin Lankinen perhaps was thinking he was going to pass and pulls away from the post a little bit. Patrick Kane's done this for a long time in the National Hockey League. He knows where the net is. Yeah. And his 7th of the season opens the scoring for the Red Wings. So where the first period, the shots were even at 10 apiece. And I think territorially the play was fairly even. But again, these are the Canucks. Struggle to score at one end. Can't keep the puck out at the other. And as I look through my notes here now, that is the 8th time in 9 games that this team that just isn't good enough, 8th time in the last 9 games, they fall behind. Now you're playing catch-up, and guess what?
Ain't good enough to play catch-up.
Not good enough to play catch-up, just not good enough overall. So it was 1-0 after 1. They're still in the hockey game, and if there was a turning point to me, it came 5 minutes into the second where Nils Höglander, who's been quiet, we've talked about that, but I thought he had a nice shift just inside the Detroit line, weaving his way through traffic, got past a couple of guys, and I thought, all right, that's interesting. I want to see more of that from Höglander. And then the follow-up shift was EP40 cuts to the middle, has a chance to shoot, kind of gets a guy got his stick in. It was a weak shot. Red Wings counter, go the other way, where the Canucks had the puck in the slot, a chance to perhaps generate something. They get nothing, and it's Axel sending Pellikka off the rush. Evander Kane kind of drifting in coverage, and Sandin Pellikka moves in from the point. We see it there, right-handed shot, and he rips it past Kevin Lankinen, and 2-0. Just did not feel any kind of comeback in the offing for the Roadsters in this one.
But hey, they got a power play, and guess who was Johnny on the spot?
Let me take one guess. It's the only guy that scores on the power play, and that's the only place he scores as well. You're right. 2 minutes later, the Canucks score on the power play. It's Jake DeBrusk. He's in front of the net, and we watched it on the live stream here. Some good work by Kiefer Sherwood. The backhand pass. Brock collects a second assist, so he bumps his point total. But another really quiet night for Brock Boeser, and boy, how many times have we said that of late? And it's not even of late. It's gone on way too long, quite frankly. But Jake DeBrusk with his 12th of the year. You know the story by now. 11 of them come on the power play. And in fact, I had to go back and I looked. DeBrusk has scored in 3 of 4. Of course, was the healthy scratch in Seattle. Is it, that, or is this just Jake DeBrusk? The streaky Jake DeBrusk getting back on, the right track here. Maybe a little column A, a little column B, who knows? But he is scoring. He's got goals now in 3 of 4. Irv, his last 8 goals have come with the man advantage.
Well, of course. I mean, what do we know about Jake DeBrusk? He's the streaky scorer. He knows he's a guy that, now you're probably going to see a few more go in. It wouldn't shock me at all. There's a bet to be made. Jake DeBrusk power play point Saturday against the Toronto Maple Leafs. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, though, because the power play for him is obviously his bread and butter. The 5-on-5, he gets chances, and he's either not got the puck luck, he's hit a couple posts, or he's nowhere to be found, like in creating those chances at 5-on-5. And you mentioned, we talked about Jake DeBrusk a little bit. I think it was that line that they dominated territorially, not last game, but it was a game before, where they outchanced. The Boston game.
Right.
They
but
completely outchanced
that was Pettersson with DeBrusk and Linus Karlsson. You got this line that was incredible against Boston, and you break it up for whatever reason. Yeah. There were some kind of curious coaching decisions in this hockey game as well. We certainly will have time to get to that. We want to hear from you, though. And I know apathy is setting in, but there's a lot of hockey still to be played. You can't check out on us. You can check out on them, on the Canucks, but check out on us. Don't you dare. Check in on Rink Wide after each and every game. We're taking the show on the road on Saturday. Hopefully we'll see you down at Greta. We'll try to have some fun.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever comes with the hockey game. But we want to hear from you. Your super chats are valued here. We want your contributions. So bring it with a super chat, supporting our charity partner, the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Doesn't have to be on this game. I mean, this game, roll it up in a ball and chuck it in the garbage. It's looked like too many games, quite frankly, this season. And in fact, against the Red Wings, the Canucks have generated 1 goal. A power play goal at that. So the Wings outscore the Canucks 10-1 on the season. 4-0 shutout here in Vancouver, and a 5-1 romp in this one. I guess that's 9. 9-1 is the aggregate score in the season series. I mean, it's tough to watch, and it is difficult to come on here and try with a straight face to break these games down. But I do want to get to the 3-1 goal, because the Canucks at 2-1, they're back in it, they're a shot away, even if they're not playing well. But midway through the second period, Jacob, do we have the 3-1 goal? All right. So keep an eye on Tyler Myers. He's hard to miss, number 57, obviously. He's the defenseman. If we show the replay again here, now that I've got your attention, if you didn't watch this earlier, it's an incredible pass from Van Riemsdyk to Kopper, but watch Tyler Myers. The right defenseman is at the left point, and then saunters back to the front of the net. His guy! Kopfer's his guy! What are we doing here? If that's a veteran defenseman that's weeks away from his 36th birthday, he's been around the block 1,100-plus games in the National Hockey League, and he's venturing out to the left point to cover Ben Sherratt and leaving the front of the net wide open. All of this is happening while the Canucks can't clear the zone. Zeev Buium is out there for 2 minutes and 23 seconds. We saw this against Seattle last Friday, where Willander and Boeser got caught for 2+ minutes. Adam Foote has talked at length about this long change in the second period really being an issue for the Vancouver Canucks. That's a perfect example, but a veteran guy like Myers has to recognize that and conserve energy instead of going for a hike out to the blue line for some reason.
I'm not entirely sure. I know he's got the big stick and the long reach. Was he hoping to poke the puck away and get a breakaway that he's going to beat a defenseman down the ice from?
Who knows?
It's unbelievable. I mean, look, we watch this team night in and night out, and they continue to do something where it makes you really scratch your head. And unfortunately, more nights often than not, Tyler Myers is at the brunt of that, but he's not alone. You know, there are guys on this team that make mistakes all the time. It's a collective effort of things that go wrong for this Vancouver Canucks hockey team. But that one, on this night, that one takes the cake.
All right, let's get to the 3 stars. 3 stars, as always, here on Rink Wide, or a presentation of Gretabar YVR. And that's where we're going to be on Saturday.
Yes,
the countdown is on now to our Canucks Army Watch Party and the live on-location episode of Rink Wide Vancouver. Coming your way Saturday. Come out and join us. Vancouver at Toronto, 4 o'clock puck drop. We got the watch party during the game, and when that final buzzer sounds, that's when we rev up into high gear, and we'll do what we do. Greta will have all of its usual game day food and drink specials. We'll have a good time during the game, and then the good stuff comes right after it. To reserve your spot and be a part of it all, text Greta at 604-256-4022, 604-256-4022. Let them know your name, how many are in your party. Come on down. Greta Bar, the place to be. 50 West Cordova. Greta Bar, let the games begin. And boy, we always say that. Greta Bar, the place to be. That will definitely be the case on Saturday afternoon and evening. 3 stars as selected in the building. Patty Kane, Axel Sandin Pellikka, and JT Compher. And what do you know? It's a match. It's like playing the match game.
Yeah, it doesn't really happen often.
No, there's usually some variance in there, but Patrick Kane, 2 goals, 7 and 8 on the season, the empty netter, crowd roared when he hopped over the boards, Canucks pulled the goaltender. It's a runaway game at that point. It's 3-1, but the goalie's out with 5 to go, and you just thought, okay, that's kind of the last little bit of drama in this thing, and Patrick Kane has rarely disappointed in his career, and he did in here. He's a showman, and I think Zeev Buium wanted him to get that 500th goal, Team USA. Buium just kind of hands the puck away and winds up on the stick. Patrick Kane from the blue line, he slots it 500 career goals. So an incredible achievement for a guy that, if you saw him, you wouldn't think star hockey player. He's always been one of the smaller guys in the National Hockey League, but boy, he just keeps on coming up big. And he did again in this hockey game. So, easy choice is the first star. And there's Axel Sandin Pellikka with a goal
Kid's good.
And an assist. Coming into his own and on a team that he's feeling it right now. And he's a big part of that. And then JT Compher with a goal and an assist. And James Van Riemsdyk should get honorable mention because he had 2 assists. His helper on that Compher goal was worth honorable mention in and of itself. We just showed the highlight. And if you were focused on Tyler Myers, you probably missed Van Riemsdyk. But a spinning backhanded pass right on the tape. And Compher makes no mistake there. And that one made it 3-1 and really was lights out for the Vancouver Canucks at that point. So there you go. Clean sweep for the Red Wings. They were the better team, no doubt about it. And they get all 3 stars here on Rink Wide.
Showtime, Patrick Kane. I mean, the 500th goal wasn't so much showtime as it was just, an easy bury the net. But I think Canuck fans they can watch him from afar now. And I think you appreciate the greatness that was Patrick Kane.
He was part of the enemy.
But he was 100%. He was part of the enemy. You hate the Chelsea Dagger. You hated the music. But for what he accomplished and did and is doing in the National Hockey League as a player, unbelievable. 500 goals, got the celebration. Good for him.
37 years of age and is closing in. I think he needs 5 points now to become the highest scoring American of all time. So that's the next milestone for him. And that's going to come here probably before the Olympic break. And he's actually having a decent season. Like, there's still some hockey left in Patty Kane there. And again, he's in a great spot on a Red Wings team that is rolling. And since December 1st, only a point behind Colorado. When you think of the great things the Colorado Avalanche are doing, and nobody's really talking about the Red Wings, but this is how kind of crazy things are in the Eastern Conference. The Detroit started this day 3rd in its division, but only a point out of top spot in the East overall. And so with this win, they leapfrog a couple of teams, and they are right back in the hunt for the best team in the Eastern Conference. Spatzilli, a regular, and hopefully you'll stick with us. It brings the super chat, and we appreciate the support, and so does the BC Mental Health Foundation. Change my mind. Myers was never good. We just had a deep team for a couple of years, so he seemed passable. I think with Tyler Myers, he was never going to live up to the original contract that he signed with the Vancouver Canucks. And there were warning signs. People in Winnipeg were like, this isn't a guy that you want to be throwing, $6 million a year at. And yet the Vancouver Canucks, you could see it. They kind of had the blinders on as he was becoming an unrestricted free agent. He was linked to them, and you knew he was going to wind up here, and sure enough, he did. And became a whipping boy, and there were a lot of mistakes. When you're 6'7", 6'9" on skates, you stand out of the crowd. And yeah, I mean, through that initial contract, there were a lot of tough nights. And then Adam Foote came in, and as an assistant coach with Rick Tocchet and that system and that structure, it seemed to play to the strengths of Tyler Myers, where he wasn't trying to do too much, staying within himself, and he had a couple of good seasons. This year, this new system that Adam Foote has implemented is not just Tyler Myers, obviously. Marcus Pettersson has struggled. Find me a player that's playing well for the Vancouver Canucks, outside of Philip Hronek, perhaps. And so, yeah, it's tough. But as I said, Myers is weeks away from his 36th birthday, and he still has a year left on his contract next year. It's going to be interesting to see when we see veterans getting sat down like Jake DeBrusk and people banging the drum for the same to happen to Brock Boeser and Evander Kane. I do wonder, are we going to get to a point where the Canucks say, you know what, maybe it's time to look to the youth on the back end as well and bring Victor Mancini up from Abbotsford, give him a shot? Does Tyler Myers have to play every game down the stretch for this hockey club?
Well, not when they're getting beat every game. I don't think so. And I also think that when Adam Foote came in and reworked the defense, it was great for Tyler Myers because they put him in a position where he didn't need to be depended on in all reality. Like, there were games where he was the 5'6" defenseman, and that position for who he was great. And then in a contract year, as most players do, in a contract year, they have a career year or they play really, really, really well. And that's exactly what Tyler Myers did. Got the contract. I think it's too long, but whatever. The Canucks ended up signing him to it. And you're, like you mentioned, weeks away from a milestone birthday for him, 36 years old. Like, he's not getting any younger. He's not getting any faster. And he sure as hell, unfortunately, on this night, this play wasn't getting any smarter with that the defensive mistake that he made. But I agree with you. I think further down the stretch, I think, you get into March and see where they are, maybe even at the tail end of February, see where they are here in the standings. And you're going to get to a point where why not bring up Victor Mancini? Why not see what you have in some of these young guys on your back end? The only way to see what you really have is in a game. It's not in an American Hockey League practice. It's not in an AHL game. It is an NHL games. And I know games are out of reach, but guys are playing for jobs. And if these guys can come in and, show that they're hungry, show that they want to be here and part of this future in this organization, if it's going to come at the cost of Tyler Myers having to sit a few games, guys play the National Hockey League for a long time. Pretty sure he wouldn't take it too hardly. I don't think he would take it to heart.
He is a pro through and through. He's a good dude. I know people are saying trade him. He's got control. I don't think he's waving. He's made it clear he wants to be here. I think he's the kind of guy that the Canuck organization should look at keeping around when his playing days are over, whenever that happens. Mm-hmm. But I also look at Luke Schenn, who turned 36 in November. He is a part-time regular with the Winnipeg Jets at this stage of his career, and yet Tyler Myers is out there on a nightly basis when the Canucks are going nowhere as an organization, and they've got a young right side guy in Tom Willander, who is taking on more of a role, but you got Victor Mancini, who has had a taste of life in the National Hockey League and is toiling in an Abbotsford team that is up against it every single night. I don't know. I am kind of curious to see what the Canucks do as an organization here down the stretch with some of the veteran guys, and it's pretty clear that winning is no longer in the best interest of the hockey club. I'm not going to say that it's not the objective of the players. Players are going to play. They're going to try. But they're just not good enough as a group, and you're seeing that on a nightly basis now with one win in their last 8 hockey games. So, organizationally, what becomes important for the Vancouver Canucks? And I'll ask you, when the hell are these trades going to happen?
Your guess is as good as mine, man. Like, The memo went out on November 24th. We're sitting here. It's January 8th at the time of us doing this show. And the only guy that they traded was the guy that went and was like, I don't want to be here anymore. And that's Quinn Hughes. Kiefer Sherwood, we did a show with David Pagnotta on our insider show every Wednesday. He said that calls have started to pick up a little bit. The Canucks have not received a first-round pick in any offer for Kiefer Sherwood. So I think if they had, he would be traded by now. I think there's GMs around the National Hockey League that are looking at it and saying, okay, well, let's just keep this going. Let's see what happens. Because by the time the deadline rolls around, if the Canucks are going to try and trade him, maybe he's not worth a first-round pick anymore. Maybe it's a second-round pick. And I think that that's where the reality is going to have to come in here for Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin and, the Vancouver Canucks is what you value your players at, other teams may not as well. And I think that that's something that, organizationally that they've struggled with a little bit over the last few years. So there's looking at him. I know that there's been interest in Jake DeBrusk. They haven't obviously received any sort of offer or anything like that. I think teams have called about Jake. If you look at guys with no move clauses and full no move, of the ones that I could see potentially being like, okay, well, if you don't want me here, where am I going to go? Or I will accept a trade. I think it is Jake DeBrusk. I don't think Brock is. I don't think Elias Pettersson is. We can have a conversation about him when the season's over. Marcus Pettersson, absolutely not. And like we just talked about, Tyler Myers. But I'll throw this question back to you. At $3 million next year, he's on a 12-team no-trade list. Hate asking it this way, but how important do you think it is to have him on this roster to help develop some of the young guys at that ticket? If especially he comes into the season, how he ends this season.
We're talking about Tyler Myers now?
Yes.
I understand this line of thinking, but it gets thrown out an awful lot that, you need these veterans around to support young players. Guess what? Every team is going to have veterans regardless. And this isn't me trying to run Tyler Myers out of town. Again, I don't think he would waive his no trade. I think he wants to be here. I just don't know that he has to be an every night guy, but could that be part of the role that he takes on is more mentorship? But you're right. That's a hefty price to pay for mentorship when you've got Philip Hronek and Marcus Pettersson's going to be around. And, I mean, look at the group up front. There are going to be veterans here. So one individual to keep him around just because he's good in the room and has the respect of his teammates, if this is about like trying to set the foundation of the next wave of the Vancouver Canucks and moving forward, then I think some difficult decisions are going to have to be made. And I asked you like when the hell are the trade's going to be made, and I'm seeing a lot of pushback. People are saying, "What are you doing? Like keep the losing and solidify last place. Make trades near the deadline."
Kiefer Sherwood's their best player.
And their leading goal scorer.
If you're getting a pick for him at most.
Right. Like, it's not like you're going to return these young and hungry players that are going to step in. I mean, that was the Quinn Hughes trade. This is different. So I'm a little surprised to see the pushback, but whatever the case. Gordon in the chat says, Kane looked good tonight. That's Patrick Kane. He has to make sure. Yes. Patrick Kane had 2 goals tonight. Evander Kane has 3 goals in his last 27 hockey games. So you can do your own math there. Kayla says, with no Hughes on the team now, who's going to be the points leader on this team? Anybody hitting 60 points?
Well, Brock's got 2 goals since November 8th, so probably not Brock.
60? Remember last year they didn't have a forward over 50 points, and unless Elias Pettersson catches fire, I'm not sure. 60 seems out of reach. Like, honestly, 60 feels like a long shot. 50... let's lower the bar a little bit. We should all be used to lowering the bar around here. But we'll see if 50 is the achievable goal for anybody on this hockey club. Remember, like, Philip Hronek is tied for the team lead with Elias Pettersson. Hronek's had a nice season. But, again, it just underscores the struggles. Right now, the power play has scored in 4 straight games. Power play's going. It's got 5 goals in its last 4 games. The flip side there, Irf, the Canucks have 4 goals at 5-on-5 in those 4 hockey games. 1 5-on-5 goal per game over the last 4. Elias Pettersson has 2 of them. One of them went off his skate in the Boston game. Liam Ogren scored late in sort of garbage time, although it did make it a 1-goal game in Buffalo the other night. And Linus Karlsson got a third-period goal that tied it against Seattle last Friday. Those are your 4 5-on-5 goals in the last 4 hockey games. So it just shows that the struggle is real for this group. It just cannot generate anything unless Jake DeBrusk is scoring on the power play. And I do wonder if this is going to reframe the conversation some teams have around Jake DeBrusk. Like, if his name is out there and teams are looking and, like, Jake is third in the National Hockey League on a bad team on the power play.
Yeah.
Think about the importance of special teams in the playoffs. If teams are like $5.5 million, like, it's a palatable contract. The 5-on-5 thing it's weird as much as it is disappointing. It's just weird that he can't score 5-on-5. But, like, would there be some teams that think, hey, juice up our power play with the addition of Jake DeBrusk? Like, maybe that's something to look at.
Absolutely. It's just, do you dare take on the rest of that contract?
I think in this new cap economy, $5.5 million for a 28-year-old, like, I think that's manageable.
Yeah.
Like, even if he dropped to 20 goals a season.
Well, you're not paying these guys in the playoffs. So, yeah. I mean, if he can win you a cup.
He got 28 last year. I still think in the right situation at some point in this contract, he should be able to push 30. But even though he dropped to 20 at $5.5 million, like, I think at 20 goals, that's going to be the rate for a 20-goal scorer in a cap that is escalating year over year here. So I don't think the contract necessarily would scare off too many teams.
Yeah. You mentioned 60-point guy, and I'm not comparing this player to anyone at all, but the best player on his team, Connor McDavid, obviously best player in the league, just extended his point streak to 17 games, Jeff. Like,
that's how you do it.
It's remarkable. Obviously, Connor McDavid, I'm not saying that any of the Canucks are, but the best player on his team is doing worldly things, and the best players on the Canucks, I mean, Elias Pettersson has shown up a little bit here of late and played well. But you look at Brock Boeser, you look at Evander Kane, you look at guys like Jake DeBrusk. Don't do it if you're not going to do it on the power play. That's really all they got right now.
Yeah. No, that's what I say. It's tough to watch.
And the last two games, if the bottom six aren't going, then what happens?
Yep.
Because they've been carried by the bottom six for how many times have we done this show?
Another night with one shot on goal for Brock Boeser. Now, he did have 7 attempts, but he's missing the net when he has those opportunities, and maybe that's confidence. I don't know, but still, just one shot on goal. And so the nightly update on Brock Boeser is 18 games now without a goal. Back to Black Friday. Who knew Black Friday was going to turn into a month and a half? Yeah. 18 without and 1 goal in 25. Now, he does get the second assist on the DeBrusk goal, so he's on the score sheet here. But, just another quiet night where I keep thinking, like, first of all, it is a little strange to me. Like, how does Jake DeBrusk keep scoring all these power play goals and Brock can't find one anywhere? Like, Brock's had success on power plays in the past, but right now he's basically a perimeter setup kind of puck facilitator and not close to the net. I guess that's the answer. Sort of answers my own question there.
But I also think when Brock's on and he's feeling good and he has confidence. I mean, you did this story about him and saying that he's, I've lost my confidence here a little bit. But when he has that and things are going well for him, he's getting into those soft spaces on the ice. He's getting into shooting lanes. He's demanding the puck. He's doing these things. And during this streak of him not playing well and not scoring, we haven't seen any of that to suggest that he's going to come out of this and there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel.
It's frustrating. I mean, nobody's going to feel sorry for the guy, especially making what he's making, and nobody's going to be able to hold his hand and pull him out of this slump. Like, he's got to make it happen, and something's got to change. And unfortunately, way too many of these games just look the same when it comes to 6 in white. All right, let's get to our stat that stands out.
Sir.
Brought to you by Uber Eats. It's delivered by Uber Eats. And Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. Every time the Canucks are playing at home, you can get a buy one, get one 6-piece chicken McNuggets from McDonald's in Vancouver only on Uber Eats. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip before, during, and after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. #Crave the stats. A little historical stat that stands out. Tonight was Detroit's 100th victory all time versus Vancouver. 160, 18, and 8. Yeah, used to be ties, so 4 columns there. So a night of big round numbers. Patrick Kane becomes the 50th player in NHL history to get to 500 goals. On the night, the Red Wings beat the Canucks 5-1 for the 100th victory in franchise history against Vancouver. There you go. That is definitely a stat that stands out. I had mentioned a little earlier about some of the coaching decisions Super chat from Free Pete. He says, J-Pack, can you ask Coach what system he's deploying in his own end that has D chasing to the blue line? It's awful. I'm not on the road trip, so won't have a chance for a while. The Canucks are out on a 6-gamer, 2 down and 4 to go. Won't be back for, I guess it wraps up a week tonight in Columbus, but we'll file the question away. But, we talk about Jake DeBrusk. He's feeling it right now. Kiefer Sherwood not necessarily feeling it offensively, but he remains the team's top goal scorer. So DeBrusk with the goal tonight is now second on this team in goals with 12. Sherwood leads with 17. Your top 2 goal scorers, Irf, and who is their center in this hockey game? David Kampf.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Like, what are we doing here?
Well, okay. Filipino on the trip. Don't know what's going to happen there. Teddy Bluger on the trip. Don't know what's going to happen here. Marco Rossi. Do we know if he's on the trip?
I don't think
he's on the trip. So Marco Rossi not on the trip. There's 3 centers right there. I mean, what do you... your hands are tied, honestly, if you're Adam Foote. But you're right. I think if you want your best players to be your best player... They showed a graphic when they were talking about you. The stat reminded me of Bertuzzi, Naslund, and Morrison said the West Coast Express line. And, that's the night the line was born at the Joe Louis Arena against the Detroit Red Wings. And then they showed a picture of the Canucks bench. And all I could think was Expo line. That's it. There's nothing going on. Sometimes it breaks down, gets overcrowded, and you don't really know what you're going to get from it on any given day.
No, I think that's a fair assessment. So as we saw some of the line combinations, and we've seen this recently, there was the game, which game was it now? The Philadelphia game at home, I think, where Evander Kane played just over 10 minutes and didn't play the final 9 minutes of the third period. Evander Kane dropped down to what was essentially the fourth line with Atu Ratu and Drew O'Connor. Now, in the third period, O'Connor had that deflection of the Ratu shot that John Gibson probably made his best save of the night. A little fortunate to see it through bodies, but got his glove out there and was able to make the stop. So I did write that down. At least that line generated something in the third period, but still, again, we come back to this. Jake DeBrusk got the treatment. We said at the time he was easy to sit down. He doesn't wear a letter. He's not part of the leadership group. And a veteran guy that you can sort of make an example of, he has responded the way that you would hope. But you do have to wonder, as these droughts continue individually and the losses mount, how much longer are they going to go? Whether it's Brock Boeser, whether it's Evander Kane, does one of those guys come out of the lineup at someone? If you do it at home, Irf, and again, I think it was prescribed that it was done in Seattle, right? You do it at home, you're going to face all sorts of media after the game. There's no media out on this road trip. They go into Toronto.
More of a message?
So they go into Toronto on Saturday. I'm not expecting this to happen in Toronto. That would become a big story nationally, whatever. But, if the slumps continue for another week, Columbus at the end of the road trip, could you not sit one or both of these guys down for a game if you're trying to send the message?
Absolutely. And I think that you have to. You almost have to, especially to a guy like Brock. And I know he's said publicly, his confidence isn't there and things like that, but Jake DeBrusk had a reset. I bet you he was lacking confidence too when things weren't going well for him. And he's come back and he's shown well. And, sometimes some of these guys need it. They need that shot in the arm. They need to be sat down. They need to be told they're not good enough. And right now, it has not been good enough for a guy like Evander Kane or a guy like, Brock Boeser. And they know that too. But continually, night in and night out, they just know they're going to be playing. And until that's taken away from you, you don't know how good you have it. And I think that's one of the things. It may be tough love and it may be this, that, and the other, but it definitely could be something that hopefully would turn one of these guys away. But I want to ask you this, Jeff. You look at the stat sheet here. So they had 26 shots on net, 1 went in. So 25 shots on net. Mm-hmm. Did they test John Gibson at all? Like, I don't remember a clear-cut chance that Gibson had to be spectacular in this hockey game.
No, and as I go through it, generally I make my notes, and I'm old school, I do it in hand here and got my piece of paper. And as I look through, I wrote down EP40 on the shift that led to the 2-0 goal. That wasn't a great scoring. He looked like he was in position to make something happen. It didn't. Otherwise, no. DeBrusk on the power play was pretty much it offensively for the Vancouver Canucks, and then that O'Connor deflection in the third period. But in terms of clean looks directly in front of John Gibson, forcing him to be spectacular. Now, he was spectacular here in Vancouver. He made 39 saves in that 4-0 shutout. So full credit to him that night. This one, a pretty easy night at the office, I would say, for John Gibson, a veteran guy who has stepped in and overcome a slow start, but he's given them the kind of goaltending now. Again, he didn't have to be spectacular, but just made the stops that he was supposed to. You just want reliability back there. That's what he's given them. And the Detroit Red Wings beat Ottawa the other night to back it up with a pretty convincing 5-1 win over the Vancouver Canucks in this hockey game. We're going to hear from Tyler Myers, hopefully. We'll see if he's asked about his wandering on the 3-1 goal. This segment of Rink Wide Vancouver is presented by the Pacific Toyota dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. It's a no-compromise approach to electric vehicles that offers the best of both worlds. If you are just sort of shuffling around town, you can drive up to 72 kilometers on battery alone. That'll get you from downtown to the rink to the grocery store and then home to recharge. If you got a little further to go, well, it seamlessly transitions from electric mode to a gas engine for a combined range of 962 kilometers. No sacrifices when it comes to horsepower or style. Looks good. It's got the sleek, low, wide exterior and a sophisticated interior, and it's loaded with tech that's actually easy to use. And right now, you can lease a 2026 Prius plug-in hybrid SE from $109 weekly at 3.99% APR for 64 months with $3,300 down. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. We talked about forwards, and they have all sort of underperformed pretty much all season long. When you give up 5, I know one of them is an empty netter, but you give up 5 defensively, some issues as well. Again, I recognize, and hear me when I say it, I recognize he's a 20-year-old. But Zeev Buium he had the incredible debut in New Jersey. They weren't all going to go that way. There's a lot of learning for this young guy.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's not a knock. I mean, you'd say that about any 20-year-old. Now, he fired a bunch of pucks at the net in this hockey game. He ends up with 9 shot attempts. It's funny, I don't remember him shooting the puck an awful lot, but plays 23 minutes and 38 seconds. He's on the ice for 3 of the 5 Detroit goals. So not a great night at the office for Zeev.
I mean, look, maybe not a great time to get traded at any point in your career, but like you look at this season, the condensed schedule, he got traded when they were on the road. He came back for, 4 days, 5 days? Back on the road again.
Yep.
Like, there's no practice time. There's no teaching time for these young players. And even the veteran players, there's no real teaching time. You can only teach so much in a morning skate when you're on the ice for 20 minutes. So I think that, like you said, there's a lot of room for growth. There's a lot of room for improvement. And there's going to be. This kid's 20 years old. And I don't want to, there's going to be so much pressure on him, and there already is because of who he was traded for.
Sure. Yep.
But I mean, there are signs of him that he's going to be a spectacular defenseman in the National Hockey League. But yeah, he's just 20 years old. He's going to make mistakes.
Led the team in ice time. Played more than Philip Hronek did, and that makes sense. It's a long road trip. They've got Saturday in Toronto, and then Montreal, Ottawa back-to-back. So there's a lot of hockey ahead here. I think when games start to get away, you got to take your opportunities to rest up a workhorse like Phil Hronek, who played 23 minutes and 16 seconds. Zeev led all skaters, at least all Canucks skaters, 23 minutes and 38 seconds, but he also led with 4 giveaways. So, as I said, it wasn't a great night for him. This is not me pointing fingers or singling him out for the loss.
No,
it's just
absolutely.
that there are going to be nights like this, and hopefully he does learn from them and will bounce back and be better for it. I thought a relatively quiet night for Tom Verlander. Didn't really notice him one way or the other in this hockey game. No shot attempts for him. And then DPD got back in the lineup, which I think is the right call. 14 minutes and 44 seconds of ice time, couple of hits. Again, didn't really notice him, but that's not a bad thing on a night when they lose 5-1. I didn't notice him for the wrong reasons either.
No, the right call is having DPD in the lineup night in and night out. Like that, he needs to play. He needs to play, and if you want to know what you have in him, you got to let him play. P.O. Joseph, after what he came back into lineup with over a month off, almost a month off, so he's used to it, to be honest. But you look at a guy like DPD, he should be in the lineup every night.
All right, let's hear from the head coach. We'll get back to Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, and curious to hear what Adam Foote thought of this one. We know that he didn't like the way that his veterans, his leaders, responded when the game started to slip away in Buffalo the other night. This one sort of followed that same pattern, except that there wasn't a third period push from the Vancouver Canucks here. So we'll listen along with you. Here is Adam Foote postgame after a 5-1 loss.
Adam, another one that just doesn't fall your way. What were your takeaways from tonight?
Had great control of the first period. We could have got a position, take the first penalty, just not gapping up properly, and we get a high stick. Just desperate play, just simply didn't have a proper gap up. They had the back door, so we had to take that penalty. And then missed a clear and had a trip. A little bit unlucky, the puck drops right closest feet. I think we tried to clear that one, They get that first goal, and then, we had a mistake on our next one. So you can't go down two like that.
Frustration seemed to be the word in the room tonight. Is that what you're seeing right now?
I didn't see them as frustrated tonight as they were in play, during the play as they were in Buffalo. So, I mean, you have to deal with that. You have to keep teaching and keep working at it, when we get in a situation like that, we can't make a second mistake on the first mistake.
Do you think guys are being tentative with their press because, they're worried about all the goals you've given up or giving up an odd man rush, and maybe they're not making
with the press, in the game as
in their decisions because they're worried about making a mistake, so maybe they're slightly late or...
No,
Okay.
I don't think that at all.
You guys get one there in the second, and then you've talked about the extended shifts in the second period. Adam, it kind of happened again.
Yeah, there's a couple for sure. Get caught out there and extend on a rush play or two, but again, we were right there. They get a 5-on-3 goal at the end. We were killing it nicely, and then we had a mistake on the next two goals.
What can a day off do for the guys?
Sorry?
What can a day off do for the guys, you think, at this point?
Well, just keep going. I mean, you got to get to the next one. Just get ready for the next game.
There you go. He sounds like a guy that's out of answers, and there's a lot of hockey left to be played here this season, so that's the difficult part for him. And we said, the first period was fairly even, but the Canucks had their power play, didn't convert, and the other team did, and penalty killing hasn't been very good for the Canucks all season long. Red Wings get a 5-on-3, and the way they zip it around, ultimately, they cashed in. And then it becomes that uphill climb that we talked about, and this team it's not good enough to spot the other team a 1-0 lead and then a 2-0 lead. And so that is sort of the story of the game, and that's what Adam Foote kept coming back to. A little interested in his answer there about frustration with the hockey club, though, and didn't think that he didn't sense the frustration tonight that he did in Buffalo, and yet, I'm not. No.
You ran out of the building again.
Yeah, was this one any better ultimately than the one against the Sabres?
I don't think so.
1 win in 8.
Yeah.
It's getting difficult. All right, do we have the Tyler Myers?
Yes, I think we do. Yep.
Well, we heard from the coach. Let's hear. We talked about him enough. Let's hear from Tyler Myers after the loss to the Red Wings.
Tyler, I know that's 2 in a row now that didn't fall your guys' way. What are takeaways from this one tonight?
I thought we had some good moments, especially in the first, but our details just aren't good enough. We're giving up odd man after odd man rush, and it seems to be, consistent in the last stretch here. So, it's not because we're not talking about it or going over it or working on it. It comes down to the guys here in the room. We gotta be much better with our details because it just accumulates and it just trickles down the line with our team game. And we have to be much better. Or, if we didn't have the 2 goalies that we have, score would be way worse.
Is frustration the word right now?
Yeah, it's frustrating to lose. It's never a good feeling, but you come in the next day and you keep coming in and working as hard as you can to get out of it and try and get more consistent as a team.
Well, that often when a team is struggling to score, you can look at the other team's goalie, you can look at, luck. It's hard to force goals in, but when you're talking about defensive breakdowns, do you think that's a different category? Those are things that you guys should be able to fix?
Yeah, for sure. I think, there's going to be breakdowns at different times of the game, but, it's the same conversation all the time. Where does it start? Does it start with your breakouts, with your forecheck? If we spend more time doing the right things, getting pucks behind guys, getting on our forecheck more, it means we're defending less. It means those breakdowns happen less. And then at the same time, you can look at them and figure out a way to be better and more consistent with your D zone too. So, it's looking at all areas of the ice because everything's connected. You just got to come in and try and figure it out every day and make little tweaks here and there, and just get better.
Well, we'll see if they can get better as this season rolls along and the road trip takes them into Toronto for the big stage on a Saturday night.
Let me ask you this. What does better look like?
For this group right now?
Yeah.
I would say fewer mistakes. Like, I would agree with Tyler Myers. Like, they're not going to win every night. We know that. They're not talented enough. But the self-inflicted stuff, like, I think that has to start there.
Yeah.
And when I say that, a veteran defenseman leaving the front of the net and going for a walk for whatever reason. Like, I was hoping somebody was going to ask him about that because it's just like, you watch the replay and you're like, what is going on there? And I would love to have sort of heard it from his perspective. Alas, we didn't. But anyways, I would just say, yeah, cleaning up some of the mistakes. And, we hear it all the time from these guys about, when they're on their game, it's getting pucks behind the other team's defense, getting to the forecheck, and working down low. And we've seen examples of it this year. Like, I do think that is their game plan. But for whatever reason, it feels it's almost impossible for them to execute. So they can talk about it all the time, but enough of the talk. I want to see some action.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that talk is cheap, especially for this group. And look, you got a day off here on Friday, then you got the big one. Like, you got the one where if teams look at the standings and they say, why are the Canucks where they are? They're going to watch you on Saturday night on Hockey Night in Canada, and it's a big one. And you and I both sit here and probably going to win that game. Like, it's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles here for this team. But it's going to be interesting. And I don't think that there's really going to be any hiding. I think that, both morning skates, players are going to be asked for and made available, and even post-game as well. So it'll be fascinating to see what happens in Toronto.
It will, indeed. And that's when we'll do our next one. And that, of course, coming up at Greta on Saturday. So looking forward to that. But I'm also looking forward to what you've got in the Bet365 line of the night.
Yes. Well, we are going to the Washington Capitals in Chicago to take on the Blackhawks. Interestingly enough, the basketball game that was supposed to happen today was postponed at the United Center in Chicago because of condensation. So ice is going to be all nice and fresh, freezing cold in there for the Washington Capitals to wax the floor with the Chicago Blackhawks. And then I like the Utah Mammoth at home against the St. Louis Blues. It's going to be a big party there. They're going to be a hip-hop hooray about the outdoor game that will look spectacular. I hate them, but that one at least will look good.
This one's being played indoors.
That one, yes, this one's indoors, but the outdoor game next year is going to look spectacular. But I like the Utah Mammoth. So put them both together. Double your money up on Bet365. Whatever you bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app. Get in on the game. Use code NATION. Bet365. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly.
Now, can you guarantee me that there won't be puddles on the ice in United Center with condensation?
I do firmly believe that the Chicago Blackhawks are treated a lot better than the Chicago Bulls at the United Center. So that ice probably going to be good.
They'll get that figured out.
Yeah.
All right. So the Canucks move on to Toronto, as we said. 3 Canadian stops now in a row, 3 and 4 nights. The Leafs came from behind, beat Rick Tocchet and the Philadelphia Flyers in overtime. Easton Cowan with the winner tonight. This is a Toronto team that's 6-0-2 in its last 8 games.
Yep, playing well. And they're big dogs.
All that
angst
well. Before Christmas, it has eased a little. They're starting to play better. And I was surprised when I saw this today. Toronto has the second best home ice record in the National Hockey League. They're the Leafs. They are far from a perfect team, but they won in Philly tonight. So that was a road win, but they're 15-5-5 on home ice. So that's what the Canucks are up against on Saturday. Austin Matthews had 6 goals in 3 games prior to this one. He didn't score against the Flyers, but he's feeling it again. He leads the team with 21 goals. William Nylander has missed 6 straight, but I saw today that he might play on Saturday against the Canucks. So the Leafs may get their leading scorer back for the Vancouver game. Matthew Nyes, John Tavares both have nice seasons as well. And Troy Stetcher.
Troy from Richmond.
Now, he's had lots of former teams, but there's only one first, and that's the Vancouver Canucks. And so, he'll get fired up. He's been an incredible addition. Just playing a rave reviews in Toronto since he joined them off waivers.
The Leaf media has never had, they've never had a guy. They've always had a guy that's good with the media. Like, there's always been someone there. Brian Reeves, they've always had someone that is good. Troy Stetcher is a breath of fresh air to this organization. He's got the Hockeytown in Canada pregame interview. Good for him. He's playing well, 28 minutes a night.
Yep.
He's playing on certain occasions. He's playing in penalty kill. He plays big minutes, plays when they're up, when they're down. So good for him. And he's going to get up for this one for sure.
So there is a former Canuck there. Of course, no Chris Tanev and no Dakota Joshua. They're both out long-term here. So unfortunate for those two. And who can forget last year's trip into Toronto when the Canucks got snowed in Raleigh and had to fly on game day and nobody gave them a chance. And then, of course, they went in and they shut out. They got shut out by the Carolina Hurricanes, and then they responded with a shutout of their own, beat the Leafs 3-0. So who knows what to expect on Saturday. Again, the Leafs playing well, the Canucks are not, so it kind of sets up perfectly for, why wouldn't Vancouver go in there and get the victory? I thought I might have some good news on a night like tonight for Canuck fans. Now, Tankists are happy enough with the result as it was, but the Winnipeg Jets had a 3-1 lead on the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, the Jets stink. It's bad.
It's 11 in a
it's
row now. I
really
think
bad
it's 11
there.
straight
It's 11
losses.
straight.
It was 3-1. It ends up 4-3. The Oilers 3 unanswered goals, so they win it by a score of 4-3. Winnipeg looked like they had Vegas on the ropes the other night. Just can't get it done.
Saw that Carter Hart got hurt for the Vegas Golden Knights. Had to be really helped off the ice there. So
Oof.
Down to Columbus. Colorado beating Ottawa.
Yeah. So the Canucks stay on 37 points. Yeah. Winnipeg remains 3 points behind them. Nothing doing there. Calgary was a loser in Boston as well. So really no change down around the bottom of the National Hockey League standings. All right. One more time. We've said it enough, but just, again, if you're thinking about it, what am I going to do on Saturday? Come on down to Greta.
Come on down
to Greta. Good group of people. Hopefully a big group of people. We got the back bar. It's a great setup for a Canucks Army watch party. And then, again, we will do Rink Wide there. So if you're not going to join us, Rink Wide will look a little bit different on Saturday because we're taking the show on location. Looking forward to that. Fingers crossed all goes well technically, but we got Jacob Lazar in charge. How could anything go wrong?
We'll be golden.
Exactly. So our thanks to Jacob helping out behind the scenes here tonight. It was a dud, let's be honest. We've seen a bunch of them from the Vancouver Canucks, so lump it on the pile. 5-1, they fall to the Detroit Red Wings. Jake DeBrusk, power play goal. That was it offensively for the Canucks, who will have Friday off, and then they'll get back at it on Saturday at Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, and that's when we'll do our next episode. So enjoy your Friday. You and I will be down at Greta.
Absolutely.
Come on down. Join us for that. We'll talk to you from Greta on Saturday with the next episode of Rink Wide Vancouver.